Hello, Empowered Woman. Welcome to this episode of the Empowered Woman podcast. Today, we're continuing on with the Empowered Woman book and path series, where I'm interviewing several women who have read and left a review on my book on Amazon about the 5 steps on the Empowered Woman path, as well as share their personal empowered path to success in life and business. My next guest is Lisa McGrath. She's an international best-selling author and speaker, National Board Certified Teacher, Achievement Coach, and CEO of Pages with Purpose. She is the founder and CEO of A House with 4 Rooms that advocates for physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, and she's committed to the personal excellence and empowerment of all people. Her vision is to impact others to live their best lives by living an intentional life. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on personal growth, visibility, and profit for women entrepreneurs. If you're wanting to start believing in yourself, giving yourself permission to succeed, and let your voice be heard to make an impact in the world as an entrepreneur, this is the place for you. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Marta Spurk, and I'm your host, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited. So as we continue on the Empowered Woman book series, the Empowered Woman book / Empowered Woman path series, I have Lisa here with me, and I'm so excited for us to go through the 5 steps together as she shares her impressions on the book, but also her own experience in her own work when it comes to these 5 steps. So before we get started with the steps, why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
So I'm Lisa McGrath. I'm an achievement coach. I empower people to achieve their personal and their professional goals. And this is why I loved your book, because it really follows the success path, is what we call it, right? Yeah. To achieving your goals. So I'm just so excited to be here and speak with you.
Yay, I am so excited too. And for those of you who are maybe not familiar with what success path is, well, you should, because I've had Stu McLaren here on the show and several other what used to be called tribers, but I think we're forever going to be tribers anyways. That's how I connected with Lisa as well and other amazing people through Stu's program. And that's how we learned the idea of let's create a success path for our clients to go through. And that's where my path came through. And that's why I called it path, because I was like, why would I pick another name? It's the Empowered Woman path. So let's go through it. Let's talk about what noticing yourself means and what you got out of it when you went through the book, but also how you've been guiding your clients through that first stage of noticing themselves and also yourself.
So one of the things that I really resonate with is I create a path in my membership and through my books as well. And I call it a pilgrimage. It's a pilgrimage to self. Yes. And so on this journey to yourself, you're going to combine your heart, your mind, your body, and your spirit. And so what I teach is something called, it's based on the Indian proverb, A House with 4 Rooms, which says that we should each think of ourselves as having a physical, a mental, an emotional, and spiritual room. And it tells us that we need to go into each one of these rooms daily, even if it's for a short time, to open a window to air it out. So what does this mean, Marta? This means exactly what you said in your book about forgiveness and gratitude, because those fall into those rooms. And when you do one activity, it can spill over into another activity. Right. So you go in and you do something for your physical well-being. Now, this could be particularly for me, and again, it's easy for us to talk about what we know, what is close to our heart. Yeah. So my story, water is very important to me, and exercise, and what do I eat? But it's not only that physical body, my physical space, but it's my environment, where I live and where I choose to be. And so I want to surround myself with beautiful things. I want to make sure that my environment is clean. And it goes on into my community, because of course we live in a global society. For your mental room, and you say this too, you're a lifelong learner. So you need to keep learning. You need to do something for that intellectual, that mental room. For me, this happens to be research and learning and writing and teaching and making sure that I'm curious, because when you're curious, You're going to keep going, right?
Yeah.
There's so much to learn. And then when we talk about that emotional room, particularly women, sometimes they get stuck in that emotional room.
Yeah.
And so the proverb warns us we don't want to get stuck in one room over another.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to do something. So we need to come up with these coping skills. And here, for me, that's breathing exercises. And that's my gratitude journal.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I see, and again, as you're recording and you're being self-aware, which is exactly what you're talking about in your book,
Yeah.
you're able to do more. You're able to overcome more. And then for my spiritual room, I have a prayer practice. And so you don't have to have a particular religion. I tell my clients the most powerful prayer is thank you.
Mm.
You wake up and you say thank you. And then you look at your blessings. And again, that can go back to that gratitude journal as well.
Yeah.
And so when I read your book, you have all these same great elements. And I believe because they're principles, they're laws.
Yeah. So
And
true.
with that, you took your story, and I could picture this little girl from Brazil, okay, and I am also into fiber arts as an artist,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think of threading and weaving, and so not only were you able to take your story, and everyone has a story. Sometimes
Right.
it's just a matter of asking the right questions to get that story out of them, but your story wove right through those paths of forgiveness, of self-awareness, of gratitude, and understanding that just like the 4 rooms, you must do something for yourself.
Yeah.
And in that, you can achieve anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, and I know you mentioned the Enneagram in the book as well. And I do a lot of strength finders.
Yeah, I love that too.
My thing. So I look at that and I'm like, if only people would take time to be more self-aware,
Mm-hmm.
not only would you help the relationship with yourself, but think of the relationship with your family. Think of the relationship with your coworkers. This is important to that success path as well.
Yeah, 100%. Oh my gosh, I love that saying. I don't think I'd ever heard it. I mean, it sounds a little familiar, but just the way that you brought it in, and especially the idea of you need to be visiting all of those rooms to air them out daily, but don't linger in one room. Like there's different nuances to this, and it's that awareness
Yes.
piece. I love that so much. So let's move on. I know you touched a little bit on all of them. Actually, this was like so comprehensive. I love it. Let's talk about listening to yourself, because obviously with that self-awareness, then it comes to listening to those 4 different parts as well, like you were saying. But whatever else comes to mind, I'd love for you to share with us.
Okay. So when I think of self-awareness, and this is the first path on my journey, on the pilgrimage to self, because sometimes we don't know what we believe until we hear what we say.
Mm.
And we sometimes don't have someone to say these things to. So do we spend any time with ourselves? So I teach meditation, and again, I have a spiritual room. So I believe in meditation, but I also believe in prayer. And for me, when you're praying, you're speaking to source, God, the universe. But when you're meditating, you're listening.
Mm.
And so when you're listening, you can hear those God whispers. And those God whispers can really help you with your intuition, that gut feeling that we have, but a lot of us don't tune into it, or we deny it. We cast it aside, especially women, because we think, oh, I have to put myself aside. We're real quick to put ourselves aside to take care of our children, our husband, our family, our job. We forget about us. So it's important to take that time to just pause. Sometimes I call it push, pray until something happens.
Mm-hmm.
And when you sit there and you sit quietly and you meditate, you're able to listen. And then when you listen, that's when those answers can come to you.
Mm-hmm.
You can get, first of all, there's going to be obstacles on anyone's path, whether in your story with your family and your husband, introducing this man into your family, that was an obstacle on your path. However, when something is meant to be, you really listen to your intuition, you really listen to those God whispers, you're going to find a way to go over around, under, you're going to get through. You're going to make it past that obstacle. And Randy Pausch was a great doctor that taught so many lessons, and he gave a wonderful speech at Carnegie Mellon. But it's like these brick walls, he called them, are there to keep the other people out. So and sometimes those brick walls, Marta, can be people, and sometimes those people are our family.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we understand that if we are self-aware and we listen to ourselves, and we tune into that spiritual place, that interior place, we will find the power, we will find the strength, not only to forgive, but to have that gratitude so that we can get over the wall. We can go around it. We can make our dreams, our goals come true. We can achieve them. But we need to know where are we now? Where do I want to go? And then, as Stephen Covey said, you work your way, backwards. Always think of the end in mind. So what are those steps that I need to take? What is my personal pilgrimage to get to me where I need to go?
Oh my goodness. I love the just the way that you positioned the prayer is your time to speak, say what it is that you need. And then the meditation is that time to listen. And sometimes we don't have people maybe to listen to what we have to say, but we can listen to what we say ourselves. So taking that time, I love that so much. And speaking of family, this is the perfect segue to get into forgiveness, because just like what you said, at times those walls, they can be the people that we love the most, that care for us. But at times that care and that zeal does not translate necessarily positively. So we need to release that forgiveness into ourselves as well. Tell us more. Let's elaborate on the forgiveness piece.
Okay, so we have to remember, and we've all heard this, that what other people think of you is none of your business.
Right.
Okay, because when you start listening to other people's opinions, you will let them color your opinions, your belief. And everything that we do, it starts with our thoughts, which lead to our feelings, which lead to our actions. So think of a three-legged stool. If one of these legs is missing, that stool will fall over, right? So you need to make sure that you're in tune with your thoughts, because you're 100% responsible for your thoughts, which lead to your feelings, and which will lead to your action or inaction. So you have a choice in every moment. That's why one of the things I talk about a lot is routines and rituals and habits, because when we build good habits, healthy habits, we're doing it for ourselves, which can trickle out to others, right? Because when you take care of yourself, you have three little babies, little children, which will always be your babies. When you think of what you do as a stone that goes into the water, it ripples out. Well, what do you choose to have ripple out? Think of that, be self-aware, be intentional before you cast your stone. So sometimes it's taking the opinions of others and saying, thank you for sharing. I will consider what you have to say. However, you're the boss of you. Go back and really think about what they said, because their advice is coming from their perspective, from their belief system. Does it coordinate with you? So for myself, I had to go back and look at my belief system, because it was handed down by my parents and generations. And so you have to question it. For myself, another idea was, I can remember in school, my favorite English teacher in high school, he asked what I wanted to do with my life. And I said, I want to be an author. I want to write books. I want to be a playwright. And he laughed at me and said, no. He said, Lisa, that's a lofty goal. You're a woman. You're supposed to get married and have children. That's your place. Well, that's what my family believed. That's what my dad believed. So that's what I did. I got married and I had children. And it wasn't until years later that I said, wait a minute, I'm helping all these other people make their dreams come true. Thousands of people. What about me? Because what I've done is I put my own needs on the back burner again. I put my own dreams on the back burner again. And it was when I got self-aware that I listened to those God whispers, and God told me, you need to make your mess your message. And that's when I started writing again. And that's when I met with the different mentors that we have, and which quite frankly, led me to Stu
Yeah.
and building my membership, and which led to all my other writings and things that I've done. Because yes, you make your mess your message, and if you can help one person, we say hope, right? Help one person every day.
Yeah.
If you can do this, and your story can do this, and save someone that obstacle, or show them a door to get through on that path, it's going to lead them to success and make their journey that much richer for knowing you.
That's so good. Well, since you are all about empowering people, just like myself, tell us more how you do that. And I'd love to hear about your books and how you've been empowering other people with their books and with all the different things that you got going on.
Well, I've been a teacher for over 25 years. So that experience, again, I became an English teacher, a writing teacher, because I couldn't be a writer myself, is what my English teacher told me.
Yeah.
So I do a number of things. One, as an empowerment coach or an achievement coach, I help people really zero in on their personal and professional goals. I help them confront their old belief systems. Oftentimes, people in my group are experiencing some kind of trauma or event that they're dealing with. They feel like they're at a dead end. And I teach them, no, you're at a crossroads. It's time to what we call pivot. Okay. We can make a different decision, because every consequence is because of something we thought, felt, and did or didn't do. So that started up. And then I started editing books for other people, again, because of being the writing teacher and editing and all of that, which led to me actually becoming involved with the Women of Wisdom movement and trying to empower women, particularly business women. And so we started a series of books, The Power of Why, to really help people share their story, because there's power in story. And everyone has a story. It's just, again, asking those right questions to get it out of them and have them reframe it so that it will empower them rather than shackle them.
Yeah.
Because your story can shackle you if you allow it to. And after helping hundreds of people become international bestsellers, I decided, wait a minute, I'm going to go ahead and just write my own books too. And so my books are typically, again, they're for my membership and for my coaching practice to help people empower themselves to achieve. But I have journals, because journaling is a very important part of the process. And so I have journals that are specific to teachers. Think of being a teacher and choosing that career, and I believe it's a calling. But it's still a practice. And if you're not reflecting on your practice, you won't proceed. You won't achieve what you want to. And so I have it here, the teacher's journal. It's a 3-year journal. So when you revisit your answers, I have a caregiver's journal, because how many of us now are taking on a different role, and we're taking care of our parents. We're taking care of our spouses. So after my prayer partners, I've had on 2 that have really touched my life. And when they passed, I knew that their families needed this. So I wrote this book for them. And so I have the caregiver's journal. I have my House with 4 Rooms philosophy journal that I teach. Let's take care of ourselves. How can we do that? What are our big rocks? What do we want to achieve? And so I just started writing myself. And now I'm in the process. I can't wait. I'm writing a cookbook. I love to eat. I love food. Fun. So I'm in the middle of my own project with this, again, this physical room. How do you take care of yourself, your physical body, and your family? Given the fact that right now the prices are going up in the grocery stores. We don't know what's happening in our communities. It's good that we start to think about, again, being intentional. Where does our food come from? And what are we putting into our bodies? And how do we want to do this? And how can we sustain this and be healthy? So I have all these wonderful projects because as a lifelong learner, I'm curious. I'm interested. And so on my journey, if I can do something, they say, first you have to plan it and you have to do it, right? But you have to review it and you have to share it. So that's what I'm all about. Let's intentionally be that stone and let what you learn ripple out.
Yes.
Let it ripple out.
So good. And I love the reframe that you mentioned. when you feel like you're at a dead end, you're not. You're at a crossroads. Wow, that is so powerful. I feel like this is like mic drop because there are so many times in life that we feel like that. And it's like, no, let's just reframe it. You may feel like it, but that's not really true. So let's look into it from a different perspective. And you've shared, I was going to ask you to share more in depth about transformations of clients as we reach our final step of transform yourself. But I feel like you're just such a beautiful example of that, because I always say transformation really is becoming more self-accepting. And everything that you just shared about your story of people telling you that you couldn't do something, and you went your own way until it was like, no, I'm actually doing what I wanted to do to begin with, which is accepting that desire, accepting that gift, really, because our desires really stem from our gifts and what we've already been called to do and our skills and all of that. So that is beautiful. It's been wonderful to follow that along as you were telling the story. So tell us more about, either your personal transformation, if you want to get into more detail, or more specific examples of clients that you have, led to and guided to beautiful transformations with this amazing, empowering work that you do.
So thank you. So I'm, of course, like I said, you know your own story so well, but then all of a sudden, when you open your doors, you put out your shingle and you start coaching other people, now their stories filter in. Mm-hmm. And it's very powerful to understand that we have more in common than what separates us.
Right.
And so we need to really understand that. And so I have been so fortunate and again, it's almost like your baby's first steps or first words. You say, I don't have to write this down because I'll always remember it. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is you forget some things, right? But there are some clients that I don't think I will ever forget. Mm-hmm. One lady came to me and she was having a struggle she thought she had a struggle with her weight, but she was overweight and she wanted to get healthy and lose that weight. But when we started working together, and again, self-awareness, once she became self-aware and she was really mindful of the self-talk that she had, because negative self-talk can be those shackles that hold you back. Yeah. Once she became self-aware, once she started putting the feet on her prayers is how we call it. You have to, mm-hmm. That saying of, I want to win the lottery. I want to win the lottery. Yeah. And then when you get to the pearly gates and you say, God, I asked you, prayed for the lottery. I didn't win. And he said, you didn't buy a ticket.
Right.
Well, you have to put feet on your prayers. Yes. You have to put feet on your intentions. Mm-hmm. You can't just say, I want this. But she walked those steps. She lost 60 pounds. Wow. 60 pounds. And she's still continuing to keep that off and continuing her journey because she has more to go. But there were other things that she needed. She needed to go back and validate that little girl that was in her inside herself. Mm. She needed to go back and heal that trauma. She needed to go back and confront the belief systems that led her to a dead end. Right. And establish her own. Another woman, and her son, actually, she had a very sad story. She ended up having to raise her 2 grandchildren. Mm. And so she gave up on her dreams of ever becoming a nurse. Mm. And her husband wasn't very favorable about that either, of her going back to school. He had some issues with, he didn't want her to be better than he was or make more money than he did. So again, that's an older issue that is in the past, because this is an older woman that I'm talking about. But can you imagine, she raised these grandsons, and when they were time for them to be like almost the empty nest, mm-hmm. she realized, and that's when I met her, I can do something for myself. Yes. And when you give yourself permission to investigate, to be curious, it opens the doors to so many other things. Marta, she went back to school and she's a nurse. Oh, she's an RN now.
Isn't Chelsea?
And yeah, it makes me feel. And so she's like, I wish I had done this sooner, because here's the thing, in her DNA, she helped people. She was caring. She was loving. It was her gift. Mm. And guess what? Now she's not keeping that gift aside. Right. She's exploring by offering that gift to every patient that she meets every day. Mm-hmm. Mm. And so I think, some of it's just wonderful. So yes, and another client, and I just love this story because it just recently happened. She wants to be a business owner, and she's starting a business. It's very small. She wants a restaurant someday, but yet she wrote a chapter in my anthology that I do with my Pages with Purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It was seen by her college that she had graduated. They invited her back to be a guest speaker.
Nice.
I have another woman, actually a couple of them, that went on to become TEDx speakers.
Wow.
And so again, when you get in touch with your story, and a lot of times our stories are pretty parallel. There's a lot of gems that are common.
Yeah.
When you get in touch with that and you allow that seed to be planted, loved, nourished, it can bloom.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that's what I did too, is I allowed myself to nurture myself,
Mm-hmm.
to love myself, to accept myself, to forgive myself,
Yes.
and to love others. And everyone defines success differently. And this is an exercise I have my clients do. And for me, when I define success, it means that I'm forgiving. And it used to be others, but now I add myself.
Yeah.
Loving others means love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Live a life of meaning and purpose. What gives you meaning and purpose? And so you need to align everything that you think, feel, and do with that purpose to bring you meaning, right?
Yeah.
And then give back to your community. That goes back to that share. And you have to be intentional with that stone and let it ripple out. Sometimes that means being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
It means sharing something in your story that you're not proud of or that you'd like to hide under the rug. Other times, you're just too humble and modest to even share. Well, guess what? If you can help one person out, it's worth it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is so good. I love it so much. Thank you so much for sharing all your amazing client stories. And I feel like, if anything, this whole conversation is really that permission slip for people to go and follow their dreams and just like you said, put your feet into it and just go for it and nurture yourself to allow yourself to bloom. That was such beautiful energy. Thank you so much, Lisa. This was so good. Tell us how people can find you, and I'll make sure and put all the links in the show notes as well.
Okay. So my achievement goals and website would be at www.lisamcgrath.me. And if you're interested in taking the author's journey, I have Pages with Purpose, and that is www.pageswithpurpose.org. And I'm happy to help people identify their dreams, because we want to discover, we want to design a plan, and we want to develop the steps to make it come true.
Definitely. Oh, thank you so much. This was so good, so empowering. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in today, and let me know, are you enjoying this series? Are you participating in my book club? It's not too late to join. Make sure you connect with Lisa. She'll be giving away a special gift that I'm going to be doing a drawing for the people that are engaging inside the book club. And so are all of my other guests. So make sure you connect with Lisa and then sign up for the book club. It's not too late. Go to martasperk.com/book club. Until next time. Bye.